readjust to society. But since the beginning of the year, more than 500 inmates have walked out of these halfway houses and never come back. And no one has the slightest idea where they are. Let me see if I've got this straight. You're talking about a dangerous criminal, somebody who's maybe been in jail for rape or robbery, manslaughter, maybe even murder, walks out the door, and nobody at the halfway house, nobody in the corrections department is notifying the police that this man has escaped?
That's where it appears is happening, continuing to happen.
For years, Yasser Arafat said he had no wife because he was married to Palestine. Not anymore. Now he has a wife named Suha, a 30-year-old, Western-educated, Christian Palestinian feminist.
Got the head hot.
God help her, because she's married to you?
Yes.
Yeah, you don't mean that. Or do you mean that? You really mean that?
It is said that he never sleeps in the same place twice, and he never knows where he's going to sleep till the last minute, and then you have to...
I have to follow. Find my bodyguard, ask his bodyguard, where is he?
If you're inclined to write off the kids who grow up in the crime-ridden and dope-ridden back alleys of our cities, try finding them a home in the suburbs and see what a change of address can do.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I really haven't made up my mind.
Well, give me the list.
Construction worker, architect, anesthesiologist.
Anesthesiologist? What else?
Paramedic, veterinarian. That's just about it.
What would you change if you change any of them?
I'd move.
You'd move?
Into a house.
To a house,
yeah. Out here, of course.
Of course.
I'm Mike Wallace.
I'm Morley Safer.
I'm Ed Bradley.
I'm Steve Kroft.
I'm Leslie Stahl. Those stories and Andy Rooney tonight on 60 Minutes.
(1993). We designed a new car. We created a new class. We developed new engineering. We created a new standard of performance. We redefined value. Introducing the C-Class. It wasn't designed to compete with other cars. It was designed to replace them. The new C-Class starting at under $30,000.
The Braun Oral-B Plaque Remover is clinically proven to remove plaque, a major cause of gum disease, which can affect 3 out of 4 adults. Its unique cup-shaped brush oscillates to thoroughly clean between each tooth and below the gum line, leaving teeth so clean you'll feel the difference. No wonder dentists prefer it 2 to 1 over the other leading brand, the Braun Oral-B Plaque Remover.
Would we claim the new Norelco razor shaves closer than ever without hundreds of tests to back it up? Say our new Precision Groove helps the Norelco lift and cut system shave closer without proof? No. We wouldn't say it's our closest shave ever without science, sensors, tests. But of all the tests that prove it's closer, the most convincing requires a personal touch. The new Norelco razors, our closest shave ever.
As the U.S. Congress works on a new crime bill, it need go no further than its own doorstep for a first-hand look at the problem. Our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., also happens to be the nation's murder capital, and once again, it's in the midst of a near record-setting crime wave. 450 homicides, 200 rapes, and some 8,000 shootings and robberies so far this year. Things are so bad that the District of Columbia's mayor, Sharon Pratt Kelly, recently called for the National Guard to make the city's streets safe. But if Mayor Kelly really wants to reduce crime, she'd be well advised to look at her own administration and the way it's keeping track of some very dangerous people. Each year, some 8,000 convicts, enough people to populate many American towns, are released from prison early and into one of 10 residential halfway houses scattered around Washington, D.C. These nondescript apartment buildings and anonymous Victorian houses are operated by the District of Columbia's Department of Corrections, in theory, to help nonviolent criminals readjust to society. They're given room and board, drug and alcohol counseling, and help finding a job. And if they follow the rules during this last phase of their incarceration, they'll be released from custody. If they don't, it's back to jail. At least that's the way it's supposed to work. But since the beginning of the year, more than 500 inmates have walked out of these halfway houses and never come back. They're escapees. And no one, not the Department of Corrections, not the D.C. Police Department, has the slightest idea where they are. And who are these escapees? Well, as it turns out, they're not the harmless, non-violent offenders that the Department of Corrections would like you to believe. Walter Ridley is the director, Gwen Washington, his associate director.
There's a policy statement from your office that was given to us this morning, which says those convicted of violent crimes like sex offenses, firearms violations, among other dangerous offenses, are not considered for community corrections programs. Accurate statement?
I'll let Ms. Washington kind of speak to that, as she's closer to it.
That is the policy in terms of those are not the persons that would normally go into a residential halfway house.
But in fact, there are all sorts of people in halfway houses who have background of rape, robbery, murder in some cases.
Very few have we ever placed in a halfway house who have a rape background or who have a murder background.
Not according to their own records. We found Internal Corrections Department documents stating that a quarter of all halfway house inmates have been serving time for violent crimes, including armed robbery, rape, and murder.
That does not mean that they continue to be a rapist or continue to be a murderer. That only means that they have been charged, convicted, and sentenced for murder or rape. And the whole process is hopefully they have been punished, habilitated, and their lifestyles have changed.
Not all of them. Over the past few years, halfway house escapees have been responsible for some of Washington's most heinous crimes. In September, 4-year-old Lenise Smith was gunned down in an elementary schoolyard by a halfway house walkaway. In August, Yong Min Lee was gunned down at his brother's liquor store by a halfway house escapee. Police officer Charles Hill was shot dead by another halfway house fugitive. And Lucy Kaludi, the wife of a U.S. senator from North Dakota, was mugged at gunpoint on her front porch by a convicted rapist who had escaped from a halfway house.
Had he received such incredible therapy that he would rape no more, that he would never use a gun again? What evidence did they have that he was ready to be put into a house with obviously no supervision, minimal supervision, in my neighborhood?
In fact, there are a lot more than 500 halfway house escapees prowling Washington neighborhoods. That's just the number who have escaped since January. The problem's been going on for years.
Now, I'm told by the Metropolitan Police Department of Washington that there are 1,200 people right now, escapees from halfway houses, that are still at large.
I don't have that data available to me now.
This is the list. This is the computer list. We're told it's from your own records.
That you obtained from Metropolitan Police?
That's correct. You want to take a look at it?
I can't tell. Oh, this came from the Metropolitan Police Department.
If the police count is accurate, you've got more fugitives than you do residents.
I can't debate that with you. I can only say to you, allow us an opportunity to review the document, and we will respond in kind.
While Director Ridley on camera expressed shock and disbelief at those figures, we found out later that the police department had submitted both the numbers and the list to his office several days before our interview, and that the information was compiled from the Department of Corrections' own computers. And Director Ridley certainly should have been familiar with Jesse Smith and Arthur Hood, two former D.C. corrections officers who have been complaining about lack of security and understaffing in halfway houses for years, and who say the program is little more than a taxpayer-financed base of operations for criminals.
How widespread is alcohol and drug abuse at the halfway houses?
Oh, my gracious. It's almost wide open. It's almost to the point that you're surprised when you don't see it.